Hey, so I just wanted to take a couple minutes to explain something that happened to me last night. Um, it, I've got two reasons I'm sharing this. One, just because I want people to know what the experience was like. It's definitely not a fun thing. And two, because I want to kind of see if I can help in the discussion of just being prepared and preventative, proactive in keeping these things from happening to you. Um, so at 1:30 a.m., my wife was up because she was feeling kind of sick, and she shook me awake and said, "Hey, do you hear that?" And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "There's like a sheep or a goat, and it's coming from the camera." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so, me half awake, I'm like not really understanding like what she's talking about, and I'm like thinking I'm just gonna go back to bed. But then all of a sudden I hear bah bah, like a goat, and it's coming from our living room camera. And so I pull out my phone and I go to my Nest app and I check it, and like I didn't know what was going on, so I just turned the camera off, thinking that would fix the issue for some reason. And then like I was talking to her, I was like, "When did that start?" And we were just kind of having a little discussion about it. And then like 2 seconds later, I hear the camera turn back up, and there's like a little bloop noise it makes when somebody's talking through it, and it just goes kind of like bloop, and then I hear the ba ba, and then some guy speaking in what sounded like a foreign language or just a really heavy accent. I couldn't understand it. So I could just hear somebody speaking. I was like, "What is that?" And so I walk out, and then he speaks in English, or at least more clearly, and he's like, "Hey, you," and he was like talking to me, and I'm standing right there in front of the camera, and I didn't know what to do, so I just unplugged the camera as quickly as I could. Um, just like I just walked up to it and just went like pulled the wire out. Um, and I thought it was crazy, so I start talking to my wife again, like explaining what had just happened. And as I'm explaining this, I hear from outside our front door, I hear bah bah, and I realize he's on our doorbell camera now. Um, so I didn't go outside or anything. I just ran over to our router and I unplugged it. Um, and then I went to my phone and I looked at the footage, and I could I watched it again, and this might be completely unrelated. I'm just sharing this just for the sake of giving the full story and like the full experience. Um, but on Nest products, when you talk to somebody through the camera, you can't actually hear it when you're playing it back. So like if I were to talk to my wife and say, "Hey, how are you today?" through the camera, and she said, "I'm great." If I played that clip back, all I would hear is her saying, "I'm great." I wouldn't hear me talking. But as I'm playing this back, I do hear him. And again, that might be completely unrelated, but me knowing that, it freaked me out like 5 times as much. Because I could hear everything he was saying as I'm playing it back. And so I didn't know what to do. So I called Nest, and as I'm on the line with them, I go back to the app, and all of a sudden it's signed out. And I try to reset the password. It's not sending a reset password to me. I have no idea what's going on. So then Nest finally answers, and I talk to them and explain what's going on. And it turns out this guy had changed my account into his name, into his email, and like basically took over my account. Um, he like changed my profile picture to some like meme or something, like like, "This is hilarious, this is the funniest joke in the world." um, but I worked with Nest. They were great. They got me my account back. They gave me like a bunch of credit toward my Nest Aware subscription, and they gave me a bunch of preventative measures. What they did, if anybody wants to know, is they put like a safety lock on my account. So if I want to change the email, I have to have like the serial numbers for the products, as well as the case number for this incident, which, that's good that I have that kind of as a backup. And also I enabled two-factor authentication. So I managed to get it back after that experience, and it's not dramatic. I read a story about a guy who woke up to his baby monitor, his Nest Cam that was being used as a baby monitor. Somebody was talking to his baby through it, and that's definitely something that would, just keep you from sleeping. I haven't been able to sleep just from this, and this wasn't even that dramatic. It was just one guy saying like 5 words to me at 1:30 a.m. It's just crazy when the things you buy to protect you end up being vulnerability. It's definitely not a great thing, especially with these Nest products, which are, top of the line, best of the best, yet, you spend hundreds and just so that somebody has a window to spy on you. And it's not Nest's fault. It's honestly, I know it's my fault. I had an easy password. I didn't have two-factor authentication. So again, not Nest's fault. It's totally mine. It's just kind of a freaky situation. But I am a big believer in these cameras. I have had a guy come in before, a whole situation that I won't get into right now. But I did catch something on my indoor cameras, and I'm so glad that I have them. It's just freaky to me that happened last night. But yeah, so just a warning, if you don't have two-factor authentication enabled, enable it. It's so simple. All it does is it sends a text to you, and it's so worth it, because you only have to log in once per device, maybe a couple times if you change your password or something, and it's just so worth it. There's no real reason not to enable two-factor authentication. It'll just protect you in the long run. I've heard so many people tell me that same thing before, but I'm lazy, so I didn't think, I need to update my password or I need to enable two-factor authentication. No, it's after this, I can see why it's so important to have. It's just, even if they do somehow get your password, they still can't get into your account. Anyway, I've been rambling on for a while. I just thought, because I had this experience, it might be a good idea to share it with other people, just so they kind of know how this happened, and what it was like going through it. Again, it was because of a really crappy password, and it was because I didn't have two-factor authentication pulled up. So enable it, change your passwords. It's so important. It's so not worth an experience like this. It might not seem like that big a deal, but trust me, in the moment, it's going to freak you out so much. Anyway, I thank you for watching this. I know I've kind of been rambling on, and I don't know, I feel like I jumped around oddly a couple of times, but my mind's kind of all over the place. I haven't been sleeping. But again, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, please.